Oh,
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Whereas we came up here, for several years it snowed, you know.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Now, what brought you up here?
My husband got a job at Bondage,
Oh, okay, okay. What does he teach at Bonnet?
theology.
Okay. How long has he been there?
He came in
Hello, Ira, can you hear us?
2001.
You're muted.
I started at Bonnet in the fall of 2000.
Really, that would have been
choice.
first
Yeah,
year out.
he's on
Yeah.
vacation.
Oh, is he?
I don't think it is.
In Blair College mostly,
Yep,
because it was.
Your pina colada.
yep. Do they still require all the Clare College courses?
They-
Yours is probably not turned on. You gotta hold down the. here.
Okay.
We really want to hear
The
you.
ethics one, it was called like the good life.
Yep.
Up here, quite a bit.
Okay.
Now he teaches, it's called the Way of Francis and Claire. It's not officially Claire.
Oh, that thing.
Claire
that
College.
little
Okay.
piece one over it. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Affiliated.
Test.
Yes,
Okay.
these are usually what they taped it into. When you're a real actress.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, he's not.
Oh, that's a long time to be there.
Okay, very well.
Not overly complex.
Yeah, yeah.
I know it is,
No, I.
Oh,
gotcha.
I remember some.
They were so nice to speak with you. I mean, we didn't plan.
He had it, right? Yes.
It's just that we didn't ever do it here.
He
Right.
made a statement.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know, I was looking through this one.
Safety.
Yeah. And I think they just started that process.
They will.
Uh-huh. How long do you
I'm in the
think
big
that
boy
process-
Did you get that picture I sent to you of Chance doing his long shot?
Whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
He didn't want to do pole vault because he liked it.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've been sitting for a year.
Right, and he said they were,
Don't exert yourself. It's where your dad's gonna have operations.
Yeah, that helped.
well,
Yep.
he looked like he was
Oh, my
doing pretty
goodness.
well, actually.
Feeling that John was gonna zoom.
Zoom,
He
he's gonna
was.
Zoom because he's got
He
something
probably
going on in the
was.
family, but maybe he's not gonna do it in
Yeah.
person
Why don't we start?
until 6:30.
If you guys don't mind, we'll start. So every year we have to have a public hearing on our school safety plan. If you remember, this started out this year with Aaron. Mike's done it in the past. He did it the past years. Then Aaron, it went to Aaron, and then Aaron got extremely busy, and Brian Crawford updated this and did this, and it's obviously been to the safety committee a couple of times. It's been reviewed by the safety committee. And all we do really is update it. This is the district-wide plan. It's on the website. It's been on the website all year. And then there's building level plans. Those go, each principal does those, and those are uploaded to the state, and those go right to the state police. If I can kind of refresh your memory, we haven't changed very much in this. The main reason for that is this is just our general plan, and we tend not to put great details in this because it's, you know, everyone can see it, and you don't want to like let everybody know exactly what you're doing and put it out there to the public. So just, and talking with state ed, they called us, they go, boy, you never had your hearing. And I go, oh my God, we didn't. And they said, don't worry about it. No, because of COVID, almost every other district's been the same boat. So what they suggested we do is do this for this year and for next year. And this is a living, breathing document, you know, as well as I do. I remember a couple of years ago during Parkland, you know, with that issue, we revisited it, even though it wasn't time or anything like that. So we can always go back to this when things come up from time to time that we have to revisit. So I'll just walk you through. Brian can't be here tonight, so we've worked together on this. So the only thing that you're going to see is changed is the red. So as you can see on the front page, it has the years this year and next year. This is the exact same document that we've used for a couple of years. And the safety committee went through it and approved it and thought it was good. If you go to page 5, you know, there's been a lot of things I was just thinking about on the way over here that have been good about COVID, and a lot of things that drove us crazy. But one of the things is our communications, our ability to communicate is so much better than it used to be. So one thing Brian thought we better do is make sure we put phone, school radio, and Parent Square. But Parent Square is the big one. It gives us the incredible ability to get text, phone calls out to everybody immediately. So obviously, we wanted to put that in along with School Messenger. So as you can see in page 5, there is some changes there, just so everybody can see that. And it is, that School Messenger really is a great tool. And then go over to page 6, School Messenger call and Parent Square. Brian added that, and well, the committee did on page 6. And then we go over to the last page and there's no changes there. What we do is we have to have a public hearing. And I believe, Vicki, that's 30 days, is it? I don't know if she can hear me. I believe it's a 30-day. You'll see this come back probably.
You have to have a 30-day comment period.
Okay, so we'll bring this back to you guys to approve in late June. And we'll be off and running, and we'll fulfill all our obligations. So if anybody has any questions, any concerns, we'll take those down, and then we can, you know, take them back to the safety committee during the month of June and update any changes. But this is supposed to be a real general outline plan.
Rick, the one question I had is, I think that we also, I can't remember what the official title is, but we have the officers now, the patrol officers at the elementary school. And I'm just thinking that wherever we reference the SRO, maybe we should. Yeah, like. What do we call them, the elementary school?
So we have one SRO, that's Ms. McGraw. And then we have what's called special patrol officers.
That's what it is, special
Right.
patrol.
And those are in the other buildings.
So we're,
And they're obviously, although they morphed a little bit, but they, you know, they're basically they're there for protection. They happened after Parkland, if you remember. And they're there to protect people, but they've really become, I probably shouldn't say it's their foster grandparents, really. I mean, in a lot of ways, they're really good for,
yeah,
I mean, they're awesome. with
but there,
kids.
yeah, there are just
they're
several
really,
places
I
like,
think it's real proactive because it makes our young children feel really comfortable around police officers. So I think it's become a really great program. And then Jenny has worked on that contract a little bit too.
well, it's just that there are several places here, like in number 1, where it says the principal, assistant principal, or SRO will immediately take the following steps. It seems to
So
me
we
that
should
we
list special. patrol
Yeah,
officers.
I mean, those-
That's what you're getting at, is
Yeah.
you'd like to have them listed
We-
in here, is that
And
right?
there, yeah, and
Okay.
there's, that's just one, I mean, wherever the SRO, like number
Yeah, I
4,
see it.
acts of violence, we should list them too
Yeah.
as possible
Yeah,
resources.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's, I agree with that.
We'll put that in.
So that's just a global
Thank you.
change, yeah.
I'd like to point this out where, keep in mind, our Board of Education made a leap years ago before SROs were commonplace. And the fact is, before we start talking about this thing, we need to realize that our county sheriff, other individuals in the Olean Police Department, we're all partnerships with them. along with the advice we get from the state. So any comments by a board member, we're not the experts here. You let them handle that. And that's what we need to do. That's what we have done. I mean, we can offer a comment here and there. Well, there's reasons why things are in place for that. And if you have any questions or comments, they should be referred to the appropriate authorities. And because we're not the experts. This is not a political position, and this is out of our realm. We just pay attention to detail, get the updates, and we decide which way we're gonna go.
I think it's a typo, Jim, because there are places where SPO is referenced. and places
Okay,
where-
well, that's
So
fine.
I just feel like the safety committee should look at it with that in mind.
Right, okay. I'm just giving a plug to our county sheriff and our Olean Police Department on the great job that they have done in our partnership and such. And the fact is, well, if we didn't give them a plug, I mean, we've got great people here that do the job. And, okay, I'm off my soapbox.
Yeah, and I think it brings up a good point, though. We should probably have on here, though, if anybody has any thoughts or concerns, they can forward those.
Yeah.
We'll put an email address.
We'll put a message out there so that if anybody did have a comment, because,
Yeah,
they
we'll
got
put it on the
30 days
website.
in which to,
Right,
to
Right.
comment. They probably need to know where do I go and who do I refer my comments?
And then if you remember, periodically, things do come up, like I said, and that, like, when Parkland happened, we had a whole special meeting. And we brought in community members.
Yeah.
It went really
Yeah,
well.
remember that?
And we
I
made some
remember it,
great
yeah.
changes because of it. So
Yeah,
it's, like I said, it is a living, breathing document that, but I appreciate you guys listening to this, and if anybody else has anything, let us know. You can always email me. So with
Yeah.
that said, we can,
Yeah, and I would really love to see something like this for cybersecurity, right? I mean, the breach that just happened about the pipeline,
yeah,
we need to, I mean, that can wreck our ability to communicate. It can destroy our ability to, transmit information, to service our mission. We need something this specific and this detailed with respect to protecting our data as well as protecting our building, because the safety of kids is at risk through that as well. So, I'd love to see something like this district-wide school safety plan really thought through and in place for protecting our computer systems as well as for protecting our physical buildings.
Janine, I have to agree with you 100%. The only thing is that has to happen at the federal level, which trickles down to the state. You can only do so much at the local level. We can't absorb that kind of cost. And whatever needs to be decided, obviously, whether it has to happen at the federal level for us to make it work.
Well, I mean, I frankly disagree with that. There's a lot we can do at the local level, and we just need to educate ourselves about, we can't do everything, but we can do a lot. And to have that kind of thoughtful, I just feel like a lot of work has gone into this over many years. It doesn't just happen. And we just need to start thinking along the
this
same
started
lines.
somewhere, right? This
Yeah.
started somewhere, obviously. So, I mean, it's
this
time
is
to
what-
start talking about, start the communication.
yeah, and just so you know, I mean, there's really elaborate plans for each school. And then
Mhm.
every year we have,
Right.
we bring in Chris,
Sure.
from the county. And there's so many regulations that we have to follow and put people through trainings and one of the things we want to do, we're going to do it and then we put it off but next year we're thinking to do a day where we remove all the kids, evacuate. So every school has an evacuation site and we would evacuate students. For example, high school, it's at JCC. And it's good to do these every now and then. And then what you would do is you'd move the kids to the off-campus site and then have their parents come pick them up or we would bus them. And it's just a good practice to do so that you're used to it. I mean, I did one up north and we put everybody on buses and it went really, really well. But it's good to do one live just so you see how to kind of collect kids, capture them, and then to make sure parents know to come and pick their child up. So you get 2,000 kids. It's a good drill.
Yeah,
And the main thing you want to tell everybody is it's a drill. Because then they don't let everybody lose their minds. So, but yeah, it's good to do.
so I'm pretty sure, Paul, I don't know if it was you or maybe I went in there by myself, but 2 years ago at the NISBA conference I attended, one of the workshops,
Mhm.
it was all about the fire drills and the, you know, and how we need to probably do more live
Right,
action kind of things.
right.
So, you know, in our fire drill, here's how our fire drill, don't anybody say this out loud, but, you know, hey, listen, we're gonna have a fire drill at 10 o'clock, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
so like everybody knows, right? I mean, Jenny, you know,
We,
So-
we do it here. as
yeah, I
well.
mean, you know, I'm walking down the hall and they're like, we're gonna have a fire drill, we're gonna get in your room, or whatever. You know, like, okay, that kind of defeats the purpose.
Right.
Do one like during, like when they're changing classes
Yeah.
or they're in the lunchroom. God, you ever one during the during lunchtime? And what a fiasco and a circus. We need to do more of those. What about like bus ones? Like
No,
a
yeah.
bus safety, you
Right.
know what I mean? Jenny, you know, we used to do the bus safety where they'd come or whatever. What if you had to have a drill off the bus? We had a bus catch on fire that one time. Remember that? The front, so,
Well, I've had it here. Throughout my career, I've had
So-
accidents and.
yeah, I mean, but
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's good to,
Yeah,
do
you
those.
don't,
So
yeah.
I like that idea, Janine, about talking about that, because obviously this cyber security, this is gonna be ongoing. And we've been talking about our data privacy for a while now, so.
Let's just keep in mind that we have another 5 minutes before we start our regular meeting. So, and keep in mind, we also have 30 days to offer any
We do.
suggestions. So.
Jim, are you drinking coffee down there?
I am drinking coffee. You're in trouble.
Coffee, yeah.
You're in trouble.
Did Vicky make us some coffee?
Yeah, you gotta go get it.
That's a-
Well, I will go get it.
yeah, take your time.
Thank you to Brian.
Here comes the new board member for the library.
I think I'm gonna go get coffee too. Do you want some coffee, Kelly? Just Mike?
Yeah.
Mike, Jim, Paul, whatever you want. Would you like coffee?
Oh, no, double.
I would. It's a
Okay.
new revenue source.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Okay.
Out of here at 9.
I want to, goodness gracious. Oh, let me put my thing up here. I always feel like you can hear me whether I have a microphone or not, so I don't usually, worry too much about that, but we'll make sure that everyone can hear us out in whoever's Zooming. But first of all, I have a quote, because I always do. And so today, I'm feeling pretty grateful. I'm feeling really good, actually. I'm thankful that I got reelected to the school board. I'm grateful that it looks like we're going to have a new member joining us, Julio Fuentes, and I think he's going to be awesome. I love the fact that he said he's willing to listen and learn, and I think that's really great. So I will welcome him pretty soon. But so I found a quote from Are You Ready? A Guide to Be the Best Version of You by Jackie Cantoni. And she says, and it is, I just put it there. Can you hear me well enough? Can everybody hear me out there? Give me a thumbs up.
Yes.
Gotcha. Perfect. So she says, gratitude is a key that unlocks the door to a joyful spirit. When days go by without gratefulness, the door can feel stuck, causing an emptiness inside. The door becomes unwedged and reopens once you refocus on what you are grateful for. So if you have draining days, reach deep within your heart and reintroduce gratitude to refill your spirit with joy. So I think going forward, we've got to remember to be grateful and thankful for what we do have. I think maybe that'll help uplift all of our spirits and point us in the right direction. So that's my little self-help there, be the best version of you today. So I will ask that we now take a moment of personal reflection, a silent prayer. Give us a couple minutes here, a couple seconds.
I assume we've been called to order.
Janine, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I will.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So before we approve the agenda, I just wanted to make an amendment to the agenda. I would like to add for our public comment, we've got a couple teachers out there that would like to speak to us about the OHS celebration for our seniors program. And I really think it'd be great to hear from them. They've promised me they've got a little presentation that won't be more than 5 minutes long, but they've got some great things I think they would like to tell us about. So can I have a motion, or I will make that motion to amend it, and Paul, you will second? Okay.
Do we need board approval to go beyond the 3 minutes?
I think we're okay with the five
We can always
minutes.
go through superintendents.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Um,
Lori's not here.
Yep. No, we're not there, no. Is there any discussion on that? No?
Thank them for
Okay,
coming.
so I need a motion then do I need another motion, or is that, I need a motion to change it now. I need a motion to approve the amended.
So
Is that correct?
Under discussion items, this would be
Yes, it'll be under discussion, no, under public comment.
under public.
Yep, that's where they're gonna go in. Kelly, do you mind if they go first and then we move you to B? Would that be okay? All right, thank you. Is there any,
I'll move to adopt the agenda as amended.
okay, thank you, Janine.
Seconded.
I don't object, but I would like the process to be honored going forward in terms of getting on the agenda, so we don't have to waste time to do this. Certainly, it's good to hear from folks. Thank you.
Yes, Ira, thank you for that. Okay, so all those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstention? Okay, that motion is carried. So now we've come to the public comment regarding agenda items. And as we know, the public's invited to speak about items on the agenda. We've allotted 15 minutes for public comment. Each individual can speak for 3 minutes, but we can, as a board, vote to increase the 15-minute maximum if it wishes. The following are not permitted, though: comments that involve personalities, comments about the performance or the conduct of individual staff members, and comments about specific and/or confidential student-related issues. Individuals may request to have an item for discussion placed on the agenda, should be submitted in writing to the district clerk, Mrs. Arizari, no later than noon on the Wednesday prior to each meeting. That being said, I'd like to introduce Ms. Ackerman and Ms. DeFazio are going to give us a little presentation on our program that we've started here for the seniors, which everyone is pretty darn psyched about.
All right. Can you hear me okay? I really don't like this, by the way. Oh my gosh. Well, we just wanted to thank you for allowing us the opportunity.
I feel like I'm teaching ninth grade again, like you're doing your speech.
Absolutely. To thank all of you, just as you can see throughout the pictures shared, for those of you that are on the Facebook page, for those of you in the district, people that stepped up either financially or with actual gifts, a heartfelt thank you. So maintenance workers, cafeteria staff, teachers, administrators, Board of Ed members, to complete strangers in our community have all stepped up and stepped forward, dropping gifts that we just saw in the office, taking them to homes. And I was receiving some chats in Teams from students saying, oh my gosh, thank you, was that you? And I said, no, complete stranger that doesn't know you, that wanted to celebrate you. So smiles abound. But we want to make sure that these students leave their alma mater with fond memories, and I think this will be one for sure. So Miss Ackerman and I, we had an opportunity, we did not know that there was Teams for us, to chat very late in the evening on Friday to get a lot of the information. So it is true that the teachers were working late, the high school staff, because that's when they're on. We had over 100 seniors return the All About Me. And then we reached out and we asked them some questions. Specifically, did they have a favorite teacher and who that was over their pre-K to 12 and why? And we thought that it would be great to share those responses with you. So, and just when you think you haven't done enough, you have. My favorite teacher was Mrs. Cortez because she started my love for reading and English. My favorite teacher for the longest time has been Mr. Nowrock. He's a good teacher who is very encouraging to his students and knows his kids' attendance. He is trustworthy and easy to talk to, so I've enjoyed being in his gym and health class. He also has a good sense of humor. Miss Kranz, because she always provided a safe environment and has always been clear she really cares about her students. Mr. Zambanini, because he taught me many life skills in his class that I can use now and later in life. Mrs. Wolfgang, because she did the most for me and made sure I made 2 years the easiest years I've had in school, especially with being kicked out for a couple months my junior year, and she always let me do me and be my own adult. She's an amazing soul and will be forever grateful and thankful for her. I think my 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Hammond, she was fun and energetic, and I remember having a lot of fun in that class. Mrs. Ventura, because she never really made me do anything. She just made me want to do it. Mrs. Rodman, she was always so fun and creative with the way she taught her class, was never boring. Mrs. Perry, because she proved to me as much as I proved to her that I could be an extremely successful and intelligent individual. My favorite teacher probably would be my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Marsfelder. She always created such a warm and welcoming environment, and she's checked in on me over the years too. I don't have a favorite teacher. I enjoyed most of the teachers I spent my time with. The teachers that I feel excelled at the job of just teaching at OHS were Mrs. Warren, Mrs. Wolfgang, Mr. Sorensen, Mr. Nowrock, Mrs. Perry, Mrs. Billings, Mrs. Camp, Mr. Kolazinski, and Mr. Ventura. That would be Mr. Perry. His assignments were engaging and enjoyable to do, and he has a lot of charisma. Coach Wright, Coach Vecchio, Coach DeGolier, and Coach Burns. Miss Anastasia, 2nd grade, because she was one of the nicest and funniest teachers I ever had. I would have to say my favorite teachers were Mrs. Rakes and Mr. Lasky. In my opinion, they are both very kind, wonderful teachers who truly help their students succeed. It's hard to choose because I liked most of my teachers, but I'd say Mrs. Matheson because she was always very kind. My favorite teacher was Steven Sorensen because he was there for me to help me through some of the worst times of my life. You guys, he provided emotional support during some of the most stressful times I've been through and showed genuine care when I wasn't doing well. Most teachers don't care about their students enough, frankly, even just academically, but he never hesitates to do what he can to help his students, even beyond his payroll. Throughout my pre-K through 12 years, I've had 2 teachers that really stood out and were my favorite. First was my preschool teacher, Miss Wells, who is now Mrs. Murray. I loved her because she was an amazing teacher and person altogether. She helped me with so much. Second is Mr. Kolosny, my ninth grade global teacher. He was the most fun and brilliant teacher. He's always right there if I ever needed him. I enjoyed going to his class. I loved every single one of the teachers throughout my school years, but these two really stood out. I wish all of them the best. I want to say thank you for every single one of them. 2021 graduating class, as Jason Mraz would say, may the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. May the road less paved be the road that you follow. And I will tell you, I encourage you all, get on Teams, chat with these kids. You find out some pretty interesting things. They're willing to share with you if you ask. And I will say the one kid, I do not know him. I may never meet him, but I feel like I know him. And he said all he wants to do is succeed. And so we sent them encouraging messages. And I said, I may seriously not, I didn't know half these kids, but the people that stepped up to celebrate those kids, they are putting smiles on their faces. So for those of you here that did, just know they are thrilled with the entire program. So thank you.
I think what is interesting to note as you read through them is that, you know, it wasn't always about what they learned or what they were taught. It was, yeah, I mean, but really they're looking for that connection, and they're looking for those teachers that truly care and that feel and understand them. And sometimes it's just about sitting down and having a conversation with them.
Well,
We might not do any learning today at all, and we might not be teaching you nothing, but we're just gonna sit in a circle and we're just gonna talk. Sometimes that's all it really is. And I think it's unfortunate. This has been a rough year. It's been a tough year, and our kids have missed out on that. So we're hoping to.
Kindergarten, they remember,
Look at
they remember it all.
that pre-K teacher, and remember who she was, and then after she got married and all that good stuff. So
Well,
I
and
think
we
it's.
figured we would use that information to reach out to the teachers, to ask them to just write them a little encouraging message as they leave. Because we do know what's in the rearview mirror, but we never know who's gonna serve as the compass for them.
Yeah.
So they were all like, the messages we've received, some clearly make me cry, because along with those messages, they add other things that you're like, geez, oh wait. It's just a lot, but my kids are still picking on me. IG is I guess, not A. I go, what? It's it. Do they not know how to spell it? And they were like, oh my gosh. But yeah, so
No.
thank you for your time.
Well, we are, and I, it's great to see the pictures and the things that are people putting together. Some people are so incredibly creative. It's awesome, but I'm glad that the seniors are enjoying it. We know everything's looking forward.
Thanks for.
Thanks for taking that on.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
Thank you.
And now we'll listen to our own board member, Kelly Keller, who would like to talk to us about reopening schools.
No, can you hear me now?
Better.
Okay. It may seem odd that a school board member has requested to address the board for public comment. I haven't done the research, but my guess is this is probably just one more thing to add to the list of unprecedented occurrences this year. I felt the need to address the board as a whole because while we do all attend meetings, sometimes our agendas don't allow us to talk candidly about important issues. I find that often our extremely long meetings still leave me feeling that we have missed important information. And by the time we have another meeting the following month, too much time has passed to restart that conversation. I've gone so far as to write emails to board members, Mr. Moore, and administrators so that we do not lose momentum between meetings, only be told that reaching out in that manner not only makes people feel uncomfortable, but could also be a breach of the open meetings law, and that I should spend my time refreshing myself with the new board member handbook rather than trying to ask the real questions, such as why are my children and all the district children not in school 5 days a week? I wear many hats relating to this school district: board member, community member, taxpayer, but most importantly, I am a parent to elementary students in the district. I've seen firsthand the many ways in which the last 15 months has affected us all. I can remember one of my first meetings early in March having a side conversation and joking about how crazy the thought of a 2-week shutdown would be. But then days later, I was living it. I never imagined that a pause would mean that it would be more than a year until my kids would be going to school 4 days a week. More than a year, and every day we are still talking about yet another new normal. As someone who admittedly was a COVID psycho in the beginning, yes, I did Lysol my groceries for months. I can understand the cautious approach that this district has taken with reopening. I'll say that I even appreciated it in the very beginning of the school year when we really didn't have a good idea of how the students would handle all the additional regulations and precautions in the schools. I was willing to accept the reasoning for the necessary hybrid models as they pertain to our lack of space and ability to properly social distance. I fully backed the decisions to be cautious during the holidays as cases rose from people gathering for the first time in months with family members. We were right to be cautious at that time. We saw a large increase in our caseload and we did not have vaccines available to the masses yet. But here we are almost 5 months later and the situation is different. I'm not Lysoling my groceries anymore. I'm still cautious. I have slightly drier hands than I did pre-COVID from overuse of what my 3-year-old refers to as Hamitizer. But overall, I'm feeling safe. I'm not afraid to send my kids to school. I'm not afraid to let them participate in sports or play with their friends. I believe I'm not alone in these feelings. I do not think I am in the minority of parents when I say I want my kids in school 5 days a week for the remainder of this school year. I understand that the initial reopening guidelines made it difficult for our district to meet the spacing requirements to put all children in school every day. I accepted that and I was patient with it. When the guidelines were officially modified and we were given a new reopening plan, I questioned why we could not be open full-time at the elementary school. I understood the older grade levels were still having issues with spacing, but that is not the case in our 2 elementary schools. At the time, the only information I was provided with was that it was a contractual issue. In the lag between meetings, I started considering this contractual issue. I went prepared to the May meeting to question it. In this meeting, I was given a whole list of more reasons why Wednesdays were best left as remote days. I thought about these reasons and found there were solutions to all of the barriers. I emailed our administration and gave them these possible solutions. Here's the part where my patience is fully worn out. I received a response informing me that it is in fact possible to be open on Wednesdays for pre-K through 3. I'll be honest, there was a list to why administrators chose not to be open on Wednesdays, and the reasons aren't completely without validity. But as a parent, I stopped reading at the sentence, "It is possible to be open on Wednesdays." What I took that was, we can do it, but we aren't. Some of you may be sitting here thinking, okay, we know Kelly Keller wants her kids in school on Wednesdays and she doesn't care that it will take a lot of unnecessary work and schedule adjustments for what now equates to about 4.5 school days. But the truth is, and the point I'm trying to make is, there never should have been a plan made that did not involve being open on Wednesdays. If we had been forward thinking from the beginning of the process, we would not be trying to juggle schedules at the last minute. We would have had backup plans for our backup plans. We would have been ready to pivot at a moment's notice from 2 days to 5 days. The guidance changes were effective weeks ago, and yet we just started seeing changes last week. We have been behind other local districts all year. As I have been very outspoken in meetings this year expressing my dissatisfaction in our hybrid model, I've been told more than once that I'm in a minority of parents who feel this way. I find this hard to believe. I've not had one conversation with one parent this year who is genuinely happy with the way the year played out. There are many parents who have resigned themselves to just survive the year, but I have not heard one person say, I want to do this again next year. If you're a parent listening to this and you're not happy with the year, I would urge you to start speaking up. Get loud, tell the teachers, tell the administrators, and tell your superintendent. Blow up the school board with your emails. Not saying anything and just trying to survive this year has led to a belief that the only truly dissatisfied pain in the ass parent is Kelly Keller. I'll own that title. I'll keep fighting for my kids and yours. But if you hear me and feel the way I do, please speak up. You need to be heard because my voice is just not enough. I think at this time, it would be important for me to point out that while I am dissatisfied with the decisions made the last few months of this year, the reasons are not because I don't care. I don't want to care for my children, and I don't want to pay for daycare on the days that they are home. It is my true appreciation and respect for the education system and the benefits that I know my kids get from being in a classroom with their teachers, peers, and administrators. What they learn being in those buildings is vital to their growth. I can't give them the school experience at home. I can't provide the education that they need without this district. If I didn't respect the district and our administrators, teachers, and staff, I wouldn't spend so much time fighting for my kids to go to school 4.5 days. Finally, it was decided by New York State Supreme Court Judge Emilio Polcavo that the current model of hybrid education we are offering our students is in fact not in compliance with New York State ed laws. The court case comes from a lawsuit brought against Williamsville and Orchard Park school districts. Their hybrid offerings were almost identical to ours and would lead me to believe that if they are not meeting the standards for education, we are not either. I would strongly urge our board to once again ask our superintendent to find a way to educate all of our students 5 days a week in person for the remainder of this school year, and be prepared to be fully open on the first day of school in September. In a year where every day counts, I want it known that I think it would have been worth the effort for those 4.5 days, and I would have appreciated it. Thank you.
So we will now move on to communications and accommodations.
It's that time of year, and I just want to say congratulations to Nathan Michael Gabler. He is our valedictorian, and Paxton Retchless, who is our salutatorian. And very proud of them, and it was a great senior class, just as the ladies spoke. It's been a lot of fun, and probably the most fun I've had this year is to watch the kids to sign up for the prom. They were very, very excited. So that was great too. But these two have really rised above it all, and they always have. And it's great to see them earn these positions. So thank you very much.
It's a sincere honor and
It is.
a real, speaks to the dedication that these students have put forward. When you are the first and second in your class, that's saying something. So really saying something. And both of them, I know both of them, very involved students as well, not just academics, but, in sports and music and all that. So I add my congratulations as well. Job well done, for sure. So we have discussion now. Was it all?
Yeah, no, that's
Was there
it.
anything
Yep.
else here? Yes, Jim.
We have a policy of 3 minutes. 3 minutes is 3 minutes unless you get board approval. We seem to be bypassing that considerably. Anything over 3 minutes, you present your paper to Vicky, so it gets documented. Us as a board, rambling on, sets a poor example for the rest of the community and offers an idea that, well, it's okay just to blow past our procedures and policies. Please never let it happen again. Thank you. Even if I agree with you.
So
Yes, I believe we are.
discussion items. We've been working with the architect, and we've been doing a very, very good job, but we looked at some of the plans and we just didn't feel that it was ready for you guys. And so we've directed them to go back, and then they'll be here in early June. We really want this to be an extra special project, that we want you to see exactly what's going to happen. We just didn't feel that it was to our level of expertise, I guess. So we have asked them to go back to the drawing board, and then in June, they will be here.
Oh, Rick, is that going to lead to any delay in implementation?
What's that?
Sorry. Is that going to lead to any delay in implementation?
Implementation.
I don't believe so. No, hopefully not.
And what you said, the things we've got to kind of work on, I think we're still on
Oh, yeah,
Fine.
absolutely. It's just that I want to make sure,
when you present it?
yeah, because they were still struggling a little bit with, for example, the music suite. They're still struggling a little bit with that. And I didn't want them to come with not a complete plan. I want the plan to be complete.
Yeah. And we're anxious
I know.
to see it.
It's good
so,
stuff, so.
All right, well then, we won't have that, but we do have some committee reports to go over. So we have our operations committee that met on May 3rd. Kelly, are you giving that?
Ira is.
I got it here too. Here. Oh,
Yes, I trust we've all read it. There were a few things coming out of the committee to approve after discussion. The draft school calendar, which is somewhat different than it has been with regard to a 2-week break next year. We recommended keeping the non-resident student tuition the same, continuing to look at that for next year. Probably come July, changing the date and possibly time of the operations committee. We spent time looking at the reopening plan. And transportation seemed to be one of the significant barriers, limiting the number that could be on a bus. We talked about the mental health issues for both staff and students in the current state and in the future. Summer school, the highlights of that discussion, in my opinion, were no summer star, and that those programs that will be provided by the district are for the children more at risk identified by our administrators. There's a note that Janine left. Then we talked about the budget for next year and perhaps after school tutoring program, the need to consider the contractual obligations and school days and times as a limitation. And then had a conversation about the district-wide safety plan that we heard about at 6 o'clock. Our next meeting is planned for June the 7th at 4:30.
Are there any questions for Ira about the operations committee? They did a lot. They met for quite a lengthy time period.
I just want to clarify, I only left because I had another commitment, not because I was upset with what was
Yeah.
going on in the committee.
Right.
I know we noted that. Janine answered it at 5:30.
Yeah, you,
Okay.
I believe you let us know in advance, if I recall.
Yes, no questions? So we will, thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that.
welcome.
We'll move on to the buildings and grounds. Mr. Padlow.
We met Tuesday, May 11th, 4:30. I'll just give you a brief update as far as what's relevant here. Some of it's already been discussed with Mr. Moore. Last week, the Building and Grounds conducted a tour with architects. We have plans for the Orange Playground, which will include basketball hoop, zip line, and more. COVID update for this week. District is working with Cattaraugus County DOH vaccination clinic for 16 to 18-year-olds. I would encourage our students and anybody within an age group to consider it with a parent approval. Parents must sign a form and accompany child, not open to the public. If there are additional vaccinations, employees, families that do not attend only in schools may be vaccinated.
Can I just add in there real quick, Jim, not to interrupt you, but we now have dropped that to 12 and up. So, so it was 16, when you guys met, it was 16 to 18, but when they changed that, they've lowered it to that age, so.
Well, let's see where it is next week.
Well, yeah, by Tuesday, huh?
That's right. Student graduation activities and other grades. Superintendent Moore noted junior senior prom will be held May 22nd, COVID testing May 21st for attendees and provide proof of vaccination. June 20th, parade of graduates on Union Street. Hope that goes well. June 26th, graduation at Bradner Stadium. Hope the weather's good. Senior trip class to Cedar Point will not be an overnight trip. Principals are planning end of year outdoor activities, picnics, etc. No field trips. athletics and mask usage, why some sports must, actually, I kind of brought that up, athletics and mask usage, why some sports must allow and others do not. Obviously, the guidelines are set by Section 6, et cetera, in the state. Transportation update and changes. Jenny noted transportation guidelines have not changed due to availability of vaccine for 16 to 18-year-olds. Maybe that'll change next week. 2 to 3 buses marking double trips in the morning, 2 buses making double trips in the afternoon. As far as other, before the end of the meeting, Mr. Moore received notice that COVID testing may not have been required for the prom. There was a couple other issues, which are generalization, and we concluded our meeting at 5:05 p.m. Our next meeting will be June 8th. Any questions?
Do you have any clarification now on the testing for the
Yeah,
prom?
do you know what's happening with the testing for the prom? Did
Yeah,
that change?
it's great news, and I have it in my attendance,
Oh, good.
but I'll,
Wanna give it up?
good news is we don't have to touch for the prom, so that's awesome. I mean, because that would have been a rough call to make.
This week.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the kids are really excited, so everybody's gonna be able to go to the prom that signed up.
That's awesome. Woo-hoo. All right, and so our last one is the Audit and Finance Committee. Mr. Hesney, you'll be speaking on that.
I will.
Thank you.
We have several items here, and I would refer the board members to the minutes of the meeting, but I'll try to highlight a few of them. In March, we received most of our revenues from the CARES Funding Act, and we're still trying to figure out how that can be spent according to the regulations. This is under general cash flow. And our fund balance continues to exceed 4%, which is kind of a good news, bad news type of thing, because the good news is that we have more than 4%, but the bad news is that according to state regs, we shouldn't have more than 4%. So that continues to be a good problem for the district. In terms of the cafeteria, it's all good news. Our meal program is doing very well. The number of meals has increased because we have more kids back to school now on more days. And also for next year, we will continue to have free meals for all students, at least through the 21-22 school year. Also, summer meals will be provided at distribution points, which will probably be some of the schools, although the district is not providing them. They will be provided by Cattaraugus Community Action. We had a lengthy discussion on reserve funding. And one of the reasons we continue to have a high fund balance is that not all of our purchase orders were backlogged until the CARES Act came through. We had an update on the federal stimulus funds, and our internal audit went well. And also our special patrol officers, we have a contract with them that will be in negotiations because it's due to expire at the end of the school year. And we will be recommending a 2-year contract. Also, we adjourned into an executive session, and I can't say any more about that. not in open session.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Could I just clarify one point, which is that the CARES Act money that we've already received is for this year's budget. You know, that's money that we actually had budgeted for and are currently spending. So it's not money that we're still deciding what we're going to do with. We submitted a plan a year ago and we just got really reimbursed for expenditures that we had budgeted for. So that money is not available for new spending at this point.
Yeah, like my colleague, esteemed colleague Janine said earlier when noted that she left the meeting early, I would add, I left this meeting early because of the executive session and took offense to the fact that I was not invited in. And so I left as I needed to, which I think was wrong.
A correction on the minutes for that, Ira?
Excuse me, Paul?
Would you like a correction on the minutes for that?
Whatever you feel is appropriate, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? Oh, all right. Not seeing any. Okay, we are now down to the superintendent's report here, so we can.
All righty. First of all, I want to make everybody aware that on May 21st is the last day that we'll be collecting cereal. I believe it's Cutco will match that. I just want to give a big shout out to Shard Wallaby, really headed this up and she did a fantastic job with it. If you go to the schools, there's just piles and piles of cereal that will go to the food bank. And whatever we have, I know we're well over 1,000 boxes right now that are gonna, Cutco's gonna match that. So that's amazing. And we're gonna do a domino thing with the boxes for all the kids to see and stuff like that. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. But I just want to really, Shard Wallaby started this and then everybody jumped on. It's been just a great event. So I want to thank her and everybody that donated cereal. My favorite is Fruit Loops and it's been tough, but I've been walking by. I haven't taken one box of Fruit Loops home with me. So I'm really proud of myself. With that said, also I know that we did talk about mental health and I want to thank Gemma Harz out here. She posted every site, everything we're doing, and it's up on the website for mental health and then we'll continue that too. We know that that is definitely an issue. And I'm just hoping that summer is going to be a great time to get kids back together again and to really get people outside and healthy and having fun in the sun. I want to thank the community. I think you saw they overwhelmingly supported us with our budget and the vote was very positive and I want to thank them and I want to thank all the candidates that ran, whether they won or not. I just want to thank them for committing to our community. I was able to talk to one and I said, you know, he did not win, but I said, you know what? There's always a place for people that want to get involved. So I echo that again and just please stay involved. And I want to thank, like I said, the community. We've been getting some great news. On May 25th, we will be doing vaccinations for our students and it has, you guys are all correct, since our buildings are ground, it did go down to 12. So it'll be 12-year-old up to 18. It'll be in the gym. It's from 9 to 11. I believe that'll be successful. If it is, I see no reason why we won't do that again if the Cataraqui County Health Department will allow us to do that. We're so excited. The kids were just out of their minds today because of, you know, they don't have to get tested for the prom. I wasn't sleeping very well at night because I really felt that somebody was going to be denied the right to go to the prom when they bought a dress or a tuxedo or whatever. So Saturday night, 7 o'clock, Bartlett, get your dancing shoes on. So I want to just thank Jeannie Frasina and Christine Stavish. They put in a lot of hours into that for the prom. So thank you very much.
And also Addie McWilliams.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
because she's the junior advisor, and I know, and there's been some of the kids that have really stepped up and given great, you know, advice and, you know, have been really involved in it too as well. So yeah, they're talking about it. They're excited.
Yeah, it's nice to see. Father's Day, as you know, there will be,
Yeah.
basically the Boulevard of Seniors. Everybody will be down there at 7 o'clock. That's a Sunday. That'll be a lot of fun. That'll be followed with graduation in Bradner from, starts at 11. And we're real excited about that, and still working on the Cedar Point trip. And I think that's going to be off and running and a big event for everybody. So things are coming back to life, which is really, really nice to see. Everybody's really excited about that. And then finally, I got to give a shout out to Vicky.
Yes, we do.
Every year, she does just a fabulous job. The last 2 years have been outside the box, to say the least. But once again, I think our elections, they run so smooth and they're thorough. And Vicky just, she puts a lot of effort into it. I know that she will go home tonight and knock off and get some sleep. Well deserved. So that's pretty much probably about a 6 o'clock in the morning till about almost midnight before we're all wrapped up and going home. So, but just thank you so much to Vicky, our clerk. She does just a fantastic job. With that, I am done. Thank you.
Could we also add all of our election workers as
Yeah,
well?
absolutely.
You know, that Vicky keeps a good eye on all
Yeah,
of
she
them,
does,
but
they all come in and work and put a lot of hours in. So we did
We
have one
appreciate it.
oversleep this year, and but she did get here, and she's a senior citizen. I was teasing her about it. I said she probably had sweet dreams, and she said she was having sweet dreams. So she made it. We still did well. So they're just great people. Thank you very much.
I know last year there were a lot of absentee ballots because of the situation with the pandemic. I think the preliminary numbers that we got were only the in-person voting, right?
is that correct?
No.
Or is
Do
Vicky,
we
are you out there?
count, we count the absentees as well?
Yes, the preliminary that you received did include the absentee ballots.
Okay,
Oh, okay, good.
okay.
So the absentees are all counted.
Yes, they are all counted.
And just out of curiosity, what was the turnout this year versus last year? I'm not talking about it, I'm talking about total.
We didn't have in-person last year.
Right, but we did have a total. I just
We
wanted
could-
to.
We can get that, yeah.
Vicky, I can email that out.
No, I have it right here.
Okay.
So for the May 2020, we had 1,891 absentee ballots returned of the 9,000 that we sent out. And this year we had 633 voters. Does that answer your question, Paul?
Yep.
Yes, well, I'm just wondering if it might be advantageous, since we want people to participate in the democracy, to allow a more lenient absentee program. I'm not trying to create more work for Vicky.
Well, Paul, anybody can apply for an absentee ballot.
Yep.
I mean, I cannot send out an absentee ballot unless somebody requests it, and they have to fill out an application and return it.
Yep. So like people
I don't know what more we can do. It was on the website. There was a press release. It was in the legal notices. I do get a list from the Cattaraugus County Board of Elections of the permanent absentee voters, and I sent out 213.
Wow.
I can tell you that statewide, all of the participation amongst all the schools was drastically down. So
Well,
the
last
update we received today indicated that all the schools had very, very little participation in their budget votes.
Our school district had one of the largest turnouts.
And
Let's keep
Paul,
in mind let's keep in mind, last year, a lot of people weren't doing a whole lot, and there's probably more focus on what we were doing. this year people are back to work. So probably a lot of that has to be factored in.
I think John wants to say something.
Yeah, anything on absentee ballots is controlled by the State Board of Elections. We can't be more lenient or more stringent at all. That is governed by state law. And last year was the easiest school board and budget vote ever because all people had to do was return a self-addressed stamped envelope. So it just goes to show you how participation goes up when it's easy to vote. That's all.
Geez, I don't know how much or easier we could make it though. I mean, yeah.
Well, people had to get in the car and drive.
Get in the car and drive over there. Yeah, because
Yeah.
once you got in there, there were no waiting, no. I mean, I talked to tons of people. They said, no, it was nice. It was easy. It was
Yep.
set up very well. It was marked very well, very well organized. You know, I mean, I don't know. It was nice in the gym. There was lots of space. I don't know how much easier we can make it, but don't you? But Vicky, thank you very much for all of your hard work. We know it's not an easy job by any means. You've got to be exhausted. So thank you. Did you have anything else?
No.
As far as it, okay. So we'll move on to, I need a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So move.
Thank you, Jim.
Second, Ira.
Ira, thank you very much. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
With regards to surplus items, we usually have a yearly yard sale, garage sale, whatever. As far as getting rid of. Excuse me. Every year we used to have a yard sale. Obviously, that didn't happen last year. To get rid of any surplus items, to give the opportunity to other schools and to the public. So if there's a substantial amount of surplus items, or unless we want to wait till next year, let's pick a date and roll with it. And usually the city does that too. And usually they have an auction, but.
My
yeah.
question with regard to surplus is there are a lot of items called Optiplex. I have no idea what they are. I have no idea what the value of those items are, but yet there are many. Is there any explanation of that can be offered?
I haven't seen that. This is Mike Martell. Those Optiplex are desktops that are coming out of one of our elementary buildings. The plan is they are roughly 8 years old, and the plan is to donate them to the local school.
It's hard to hear you, but I understood they were old at the elementary schools. What's the value, total value of all of these units?
The value is hard to put at because they're so old. I could say, probably, I would be totally guessing. I would have to look at eBay or something to see what an 8-year-old unit like that would look for between us.
Ira, this is Jenny. I can say that there's different recycling companies that we work with as well that will oftentimes come in and buy things from textbooks to computers and whatnot. These units, we would have to pay them to take them. They would offer no money for them. So we are looking at donating them to the local non-public schools.
Okay.
Okay.
A portion of that.
When we purchased them, did it cost us 1 million, 2 million, or 50 cents?
Honestly, I'd have to look at that because they were purchased over several years, but we can look into that.
I'm just curious as to the value that we're declaring surplus. Thank you.
Technology changes so fast that they just drop in value. I mean, literally. My school laptop I have, I think is brand new after 1 year. I can't even hear the volume on it anymore. It's like, I'm happy to have it, but wow. Were there any other discussion on that? Jim, I didn't even know he had a yard sale. So thank you for pointing that out.
Well, we didn't have it last year. And
Right.
we got rid of most of our stuff,
Yeah,
but now we got more stuff.
yeah, there's always more stuff. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that motion is carried. Now we're down to number 7, new business. We have our 2021-2022 school calendar. Do we have a motion to accept this calendar?
So moved.
John?
Second,
And I'm going to do John, moved by John and seconded by Frank. Wait, I will add those in there. Is there any discussion on this calendar? I know we've talked about it. It's been brought up a couple times, but is there any?
Just highlight the differences this year.
Yeah, so the differences,
The differences between this year and next year.
the big difference is that we will not be having our February break.
Right.
We will continue straight through until, till the spring break, which falls in April. We'll do 2 weeks at that time.
Besides, I think it's a little early and premature to think that this is going to be set in stone because we don't know what's going to happen in the next few months. So let's just presume that it's going to be accurate. If not, then we'll change it accordingly.
Yeah, but that is the big difference. Is that we're just not we're not doing the split break this year. We'll see how it goes. Are there any other questions, discussions?
We discussed this a lot in the operations meeting, and Rick had some ideas as to why, one was better than the other. Personally, I asked other, parents, I went out to them and asked them what their thoughts were on changing from having a February break to having a 2-week break in April. The overwhelming response with kids, people who had younger elementary aged kids, was really that they were going to have more trouble finding childcare during a 2-week break than a single week in March or in February and April. So, Rick had suggested that possibly the city might step up and offer programs. I do see the value in having the 2-week break together because you could, have maybe more people will have a chance to travel over that break, that, driving trips will be easier because you won't be stuck with, flights that are 1 week and 1 week. I see the value to both, but I personally don't think I'm going to support this calendar because I just knowing the childcare issues and hearing that from multiple other parents that they would have a problem with it, that would be my thought. So.
And again, I think we're going to try it. And, if we pass the amended, and we'll just, if we find that it really is difficult, we may have to decide to go back to that split break. It will be a long period of time between when Christmas vacation is over and we go back in January until April. Let me tell you, a very long time. I'll say it again, very long time. But we can try it and we can see, we are doing our capital improvement project. So, that will help with that, and we can see how it goes at that time. So is there any other discussion on that? This is kind of a big
What
thing.
was the input from the marketing units? Were they in favor of this?
They said it would be kind of somewhat split, but actually the teachers brought this to us because they felt like the February break too, we have Christmas break and we're not even back for a month and then we're out a week. What they wanted is a continuity of education that would run, basically from, when we come back from, winter break, and it would go all the way to spring break. They just felt like they just get started and then they're on another break. So they wanted the continuity of education is one of the main reasons we brought this forth.
Mary?
Well, another main reason was because we share busing with Portville, and Portville has decided to do it. Portville used the reason for the capital improvement project because they were redoing their auditorium and that, but they've just decided to continue to do it. So, and that, it's difficult then when they're not, I don't know of any other schools in the area besides Portville and us that are doing that at this time. So we will have the issue with our BOCES students, but we've been assured that, there's a way we can get them to their BOCES programs because they have to have so many hours in these BOCES programs. So it's always a challenge when our calendar is off from where, their calendar is. It's also a challenge, for the teachers that teach in other districts and they're teaching, yet now their kids are home for the 2 weeks or whatever. I will say that, I'll go on that continuity of learning. Next year, we're going to need all hands on deck, and that continuity of learning is going to have to really be visible and going. Hopefully by April, the weather will be nicer. Maybe the, kids can go outside and, and there'll be some things that they can do. And hopefully there'll be some, people will step up and do some art camps and do some, music camps and, those kind of things to help. We're going to have great things in place to try to close this gap of, of this academic loss that they've had. So I'm going to try to be open-minded, but
If we had already had that in place, I would support it, but we don't have any.
Let's hope we will.
Formal thing in place saying that somebody is going to step up and take care of it. So, without
Harry?
that.
Yes, John, sorry.
This falls under the category of everything old is new again. We used to have a 2-week break, and I remember the pushback when we went to 2 1-week breaks. So this really is everything old is new again.
Yep. Yes. You're exactly right.
I was on the board, and I remember speaker after speakers talking against going to 2 1-week breaks.
Yep.
So it's just the flavor of the times. That's all.
Yep. So you're exactly right. Yes. It's 2 weeks when I went to school. We didn't have a February break. So that was it. You had your 2 weeks off in around Easter time, and that was what you had. Anything else? No? And I will call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Kelly? Any abstentions? All right. So that motion will carry. I now need a motion to certify the budget vote in the Board of Election results.
So moved.
So moved.
Jim, okay, John, and we'll give the second to Jim. Debbie. Here it goes.
There we go.
We only need one of them. Is there any discussion on the budget vote or the board election results?
Congratulations to everyone who won.
Yeah. Thank you. That means everyone, our Olean Public Library trustee over there, everybody. So that's great.
And my thanks to those who did not.
And absolutely, yes, always, everyone that participated. Is there any other discussion? All right, seeing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion is carried. Now we are to the OESPA memorandum of agreement. Jim, thank you. Second? Paul? Is there any discussion on this?
I just had a question. Are some of these hours instructional, Rick? It seemed like it was. It seemed like some of the hours were, the extra work was instructional hours for the OESPA? No. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's so our OESPA members can assist us in the morning and after school. So when we're doing dual bus runs, we need extra staff there in the morning to help with the kids and extra staff in the afternoon.
Yeah, so now that we've got more kids coming back into the school, we needed more staff members to assist us with that. So we definitely appreciate them stepping up and helping us with that. They're always, the OESPA is always so good to work with us, whatever we need, whatever we ask. They always seem to come through with flying colors. So I'm pretty proud of that organization. Is there any other discussion on that? Anybody else have any other questions? All right. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion is carried. And we have letter D, we have our non-resident student tuition, which I believe we kept the same as we have in the past. You can see the tuition there from the kindergarten through fifth and sixth through 12th. May I have a motion to accept that?
So moved.
Thank you, Andrew.
I'll
Second.
Give it to John.
John,
Thank you.
is there any discussion on that? No, I know that the operations has talked about it and finance, but yes, Paul?
Well, I haven't changed my view on this for years.
Yep.
But I did a little bit of research and asked some questions about the actual state aid, and this represents, this tuition is such a small part of our budget. I think we only have most of our non-resident students don't pay tuition because
Right.
they happen to be
Our staff.
students, children of our staff members.
Yep.
So this represents nothing in terms of actual revenue. It's only a token thing. And if we would like a token, I think that we should make it more affordable because it doesn't represent a difference between what a resident share would be and what they actually pay. So I don't support this. I don't think it's a good idea to just rubber stamp this without reviewing it every year.
So I believe we did review it. I know,
We review it.
I know.
We look at it and we say, okay, let's keep it the same.
It was never designed to be a revenue generator. It was designed to be accountable. Otherwise, you have an overflux of people coming into our district, and then you got to pick and choose. This is designed to be an equalizer.
Well, my issue is that I think we have, we have an exodus rather than.
Yeah.
Well, you have to have control, you have to have controls in place to address future issues. So take the controls apart, then you're creating a problem in the situation. I completely and totally disagree.
Well, if you want to charge tuition, make it smaller.
No, it's very reasonable. This is small.
It is, well, it's reasonable if you can afford it.
It's small.
Jenny, I know in the operations meeting, we talked about how we do get funding from most, for almost everything from the state for these students, except for books. Would this amount be about the same as what we would pay in books, or too much or lower? Because I think that was one of the only expenses you said that was associated to these students that we are responsible for.
We do not get textbook money for these students. So for these particular students, the textbook aid does go back to their home district. It's about, I believe, $51 per student. There is an additional part that we don't get in state aid, and that's considered the local share. So in the tax or in the state aid formula, there's a portion of that for each student that comes from the local share or the local tax levy. And that's the piece that we don't get for non-resident students. That's why you see a lot of districts that will set their rates much, much higher because they try to match what that local share would be. So
they're trying to bridge that gap.
Yeah, they're trying to bridge that gap with their non-resident. They typically are in the thousands, $2,000 range.
So there is still a gap.
There is still a gap. There is still a gap. It ends up being about, I believe we said maybe 12 students that actually pay for this. And I do believe our rates are very nominal compared to.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
But Paul, you've always had that issue, and We appreciate you.
Yep. And
holding on
each
to
year
that.
we can reevaluate it. Each year we can share the numbers and I can do the calculations and bring out the state aid forms and show you what exactly that local share is.
What about the technology costs now? Because, you know, I mean, I know we were, you know, the state and their textbooks, but, you know, now we really are pretty much one-to-one devices from, you know, pre-K or whatever, all the way up through. Is there any cost to cover that?
Yeah,
Like,
so
when we
that's
get our-
that's the funny part, actually. So the textbook aid for students stays with their district of residence. The technology, as far as software and hardware, actually comes with them to their non-resident district.
Okay.
So we do get aid
Okay.
on the non-resident students here. We get hardware, software, and library aid. We do not get textbook aid.
Okay.
Bizarre.
So, Paul, your concern is definitely noted.
If I understood what Jenny said, the amount of state aid that we get for each student is about the same as the actual cost of educating that student for a year. So I guess what I don't understand is the discrepancy between the local share. I mean, am I just misunderstanding, Jenny, that I think what you said was the cost of the per pupil cost of educating a student would be about a little under $9,000, and that's about what we receive in aid for a student. So this represents really nothing, and the amount of money is negligible. So I don't see the purpose.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry, there are purposes to control class size being one. Number two, I don't believe it appropriate for Olean City taxpayers to pick up the cost of educating people who are not from this district. And having a non-resident student tuition that is nominal should stay in place.
This is an old argument. We go through this every year. We come to the same conclusion, so we're wasting our time.
You've heard what I have to say.
So
Madam Chair, I call the question.
Yes.
I call the question.
Okay. So just call the vote. Is that what he does?
Yep.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Kelly's missing, so.
So,
No, that's not how it works.
so did anybody, because I'm sorry.
I'm voting no.
I know. So,
No, you don't have to.
Um,
You have a majority.
all right, I just want to make sure, was there anybody else that said no? Just you, Paul? Okay. All right, and no abstention. So, all right, well, that motion is carried. So now I need a motion for the annual fire inspection report.
Move.
Jim?
Second.
Andrew? Okay, is there any discussion on the fire report? No?
It's the first non-controversial thing we've done.
Holy wow. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion is carried. Now we're down to a donation for an tricycle from Penny Bellamy. May I have a motion to accept that?
So moved.
Thank you, Janine.
Second, and thank you, Penny.
Yes, thanks, Jim, for saying that. Is there any discussion on this?
I wonder who evaluated who certified the value of this tricycle? I just wondered.
Well, it's a mystery. Call for the vote, man.
Are we planning to put it on eBay? or-
No, we did, well, it's valid, yes.
Yeah.
So we did some research on this and that is, yep. They'll be using it in our special education
Yes.
areas, particularly OT.
Oh,
Yes.
This is, it's a special.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
special
yes. Mhm.
Adapt.
Yeah.
Yep,
it's an
adaptive.
trip. Yes.
Yes.
Choice.
All right, well, that was good. That was good to get that out there. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any,
Aye.
oppo- any abstentions? All right, that motion is carried. Now we're down to letter G, where I need a motion. We're going to create 4 teaching assistant positions for the 2021 school year. You have a motion.
So moved.
Janine, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Andrew. Is there any discussion on these positions?
Are these all for elementary school? Is that, or they have not been decided yet?
They're nodding. Yes.
Yes, particularly in the math area at the elementary school.
Okay.
Full-time with benefits?
Correct. Full-time with benefits. It will be in the OTA contract.
So I'm assuming that these positions will have to be negotiated in terms of salary with the OTA.
That's already, yeah, it's already in the teacher's contract. It's already in there. We already have
We already have
one.
one.
We have
teacher
one
assistant.
teaching assistant already, so it's already in there.
Yeah, so now we'll just, these 4 will be added to that. Is there any, and can I just say, I'll say, yay for our teacher assistant. I'm encouraged by that. I honestly encourage more of our teacher aides to get out there and do what it requires to have teacher assistants. So we have 5 right now, currently at Bolivar Richburg, much smaller school. So, I mean, yeah, get out there, get that, do that. That's,
No, I totally support this, but I was just wondering if we are intending to, because we've had discussions about this in the past, and if we are intending to hire internally for all of these positions or what?
I'll let Aaron, you want to speak to that?
yeah,
So we have,
thank you. We can hear you.
So we have advertised internally for these positions, and we have collected internal bids on these positions to this point. Having the positions now created, we will set up interviews shortly for that. We will seek to fill these positions with internal bidders, but if we don't find qualified candidates, we will look outside.
Awesome.
thank you, that's exactly what I wanted to know.
Is there any other discussion? I will
We,
call-
yeah, could we at some point in the fall, like fairly early on, have a report on how this is going? Because I mean, I think this is a really important initiative and it would be nice just to hear whether the teachers and the teachers' assistants and the principals think that this is making a significant difference in the classrooms.
Okay,
Good idea.
Yep, absolutely.
so I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? That motion is carried. We are going to create 2 teaching positions, 2 elementary teacher positions for the 21-22 school year. Jim, thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Janine. Any discussion?
Do we anticipate this due to increased enrollment, lower class sizes? What's the thinking behind creating these 2 positions, please?
All of those, Ira. So 4th and 5th grade, we're seeing that we had 8 sections. Then they come up to the middle school or OIMS and they break them down into 7. That's a difficult year to begin with. So we felt it was really important to create 8 sections. So that's where one of these teachers. And then we have our current 4th grade is huge.
Yeah.
And we felt that it was educationally sound to put another section there, which will really, really help out. It has a lot to do with 2 things, the transition from Eastview, Washington West into Oims, and then also the sizes. So you were correct on both points.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I think if we can do this, you know, obviously the smaller the class size, the more individual attention, and that's going to be important and huge this year coming up. So is there any other discussion on that?
Just so you guys are aware, the intent is that that individual, and Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, that individual who will be hired at the 5th grade level will travel with that group up through, since that group will be larger. So they'll
Okay.
travel up through to 6th and 7th grade. It's about 28 students more than the other classes.
Yeah, that's significant.
And these positions were in the budget, correct?
The 4th grade position was in the budget. The 5th grade position, we are looking at using federal funding. That federal funding will go 3 years, so it will cover that teacher in 5th, 6th, 7th. And then we will reevaluate to see if any of the department level teachers at the high school level need to be adjusted. Our thought right now is that we will only need that at the 5th, 6th, and 7th grade level. And then when they get to the high school, the numbers up there are a little different anyway. So we feel like it can be absorbed at that point.
Down the road, yeah, thank you.
So then what will happen with that particular?
So that individual, we're assuming over the next 3 years, we will have other retirements as well.
Oh,
And at
okay,
that
and we'll
point,
just shift them to,
Yeah.
move them to a different, okay.
Yeah.
Was there any other questions? Good questions. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that motion is carried. We now added letter I, NISBA Everett Dyer Award nomination. We'd like to nominate our own Ira Katzenstein. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
John and Jim, Jim.
yeah,
here.
I defer.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this? No. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion is carried.
Thank you kindly.
Well deserved, Ira.
Oh. Now we're on to personnel. I needed a motion to accept the resignation of Terry Cal.
So moved.
Thank you, Andrew.
Second.
Thanks, Janine. Any discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion is carried. Now I need a motion to appoint her to the cleaner position.
So moved.
Thank you, Andrew.
Second,
Is that
Frank.
Kelly? Was that you over there? Yes, Kelly, we'll take that second from you. Any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are on to letter C, teacher aid hours. We're just reducing some of those instructional hours for Jenna Dodge. Can I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Paul. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion is carried. I now need a motion to recommend Matthew, I don't know how to say his name, Wolleben,
Wallaben.
for the earth science.
So moved.
Thank you, Andrew.
Second, Ira.
Thank you, Ira. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Oh, I'm
He
sorry.
has an
Aye.
emergency certification. Assuming that part of the agreement is that he will become at least provisionally certified during this probationary period. I mean, I understand
Yeah,
it's
the-
really hard to find people right now.
So what has happened, Paul, is the state has issued several of these emergency COVID-19 certifications due to the fact of the pandemic has slowed down the process at the state level for what is now an initial certification in those areas. We just got notification recently that I believe Those were initially passed as 1-year emergency COVID-19 certifications. I believe they're extending it now to 2 years due to the fact that they're incredibly backed up with getting these certifications through the system. So yes, he will eventually land at what would be an initial certification. And that would be part of the expectation for sure. Yes. And by the way, I should say he did offer his apologies. I talked with Matthew today. He was planning on being here this evening. He had a family event come up that he asked if he had permission to not be here. I said, I think the board would understand. I said, do you think it'd be possible maybe when we get closer to the start of things that you could come in and meet the board? He said, absolutely. The science department is very excited. We had a great time with him. He's actually coming in next week to meet with the department and spend some time with them. So we're excited about this hire.
Great. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion is carried. And then we have letter E, which is a teacher aide position being, just the hours being increased from 5.75 to 7.5 hours per day. Thank you, Jim. And a second. Andrew, thank you. Is there any discussion on that?
Does that make this person a full-time position?
It does.
Yes. So I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion is carried. We have a list of informational items, meetings, all our meetings that are coming up and all the great things that are happening here. And so executive session, I understand there, you feel there's a need to go into executive session?
Yes, I would like to move into executive session for purposes of personnel and discussion of negotiations.
I think what we should do is take a break though, and then maybe we can
Oh, yeah.
retreat to the boardroom, and then I will send out a Zoom, separate Zoom for the members that are out in TV land.
Mary,
Yes.
We need
I
a
don't think
second.
these, just for Vicky, I don't think these meetings are correct.
Yeah, the
The
time for the building
operations
ground.
committee meeting doesn't usually go at noon, it's usually 4:30.
Right.
And
Oh.
then the buildings and grounds, the
Yeah.
4:30, but
Hashtag there.
Okay. Is there anything else? Do you see the finance does meet at noon, graduation, and then our board meeting, so I guess we're good with all the rest of them. Thank you for pointing that out. I just looked at it really quick, so I wasn't really, can
I'll
I?
second the motion for the executive session.
Yes, yeah, so I need to get, who made the motion? Paul? And Janine, you're seconding it?
Yep.
Seconding it. Is there anybody that we need to invite in?
Yes, I will be, Lada and Aaron Wolf.
Okay. Okay, is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that motion is carried. We want to take a 5-minute break here, and then we'll meet